Hey everyone, this is Gale from PaulGaleNetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game news. It is July 1st, 2021, and these are the top stories of the day. So to kick things off, we have a couple of commercials from Nintendo regarding The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, and I thought I would play them for you now. The first one is 30 seconds, so let's hit play and watch it together. I think Nintendo has done a great job with Nintendo Switch marketing and commercials for the last 4 years. Most of their ads are really solid.
Finding my escape.
And
see that?
That's my way to play.
Here's a fun one, you know, short. Okay, let's check out the next one. There's two in a row. One was 30 seconds, the next one's 56 seconds. Both of them have a young woman as the lead character. The first, obviously, you know, girl's out there in the woods, camping, got your dog with her. This one, girl's jumping off the side of the cliff, and goes to the game footage.
Between sky and land. To fulfill your destiny as a master of the sword and a hero of the
other
realm.
one was saying, like,
Take
hey,
up
this game
arms
is all
as the
about
legendary Link. Unlock your full potential
adventure that
and enter a universe filled with epic adventure.
You're like doing this outside adventure of a game.
Harness the power that lies within you.
Switch outside. I'm sure a lot of us have done
How
that.
does your story begin?
This one's playing indoors.
The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. Rated everyone 10 and up. Only on Nintendo Switch.
Pretty sweet. I'm just gonna get the next video ready, but yeah, cool, short and sweet. I think the game's gonna do pretty well. Comes out later this month, which is kind of wild because the year is just going by so quickly. We're already at July 1st. This officially is the beginning of the second half of 2021. Wow. That also means that my birthday is in 6 more days, July 7th. Hopefully we get some cool video game news that day, because it would be nice to hop on and do video game news with Paul Gale Network Happy Birthday Edition, you know? But yeah, Skyward Sword HD. It's actually looking really clean. Probably the best that it's looked in any of the trailers seen so far in that commercial. Maybe it's just because we've seen some new areas in it that we haven't seen previously at like E3 and whatnot, other directs, that like, oh, okay, I haven't seen this new area, or I haven't seen this old area done new. And I can really see the difference in visual quality from how I remember that fight looking before to now and stuff. So I don't know, let me know what you think of the game. Are you getting it? Looks pretty good, looked pretty fresh. Commercials, like I said, done well. Okay, next up is another video. This time we're going into the PlayStation side of things, so let's hit play here. I'll tell you, I'm pretty happy about this one in particular because it very nicely wraps up a few stories of what video game news with PGN had over the last, almost year now. This is Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Check it out.
To master your blade, you must first control your emotions.
Already a solid title released in 2020 for PlayStation 4. Director's Cut is coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 on PS5 in particular. 4K resolution targeting 60 frames per second, getting haptic feedback in that DualSense, adaptive figures in the DualSense. That's pretty sweet. Already a looker, just gonna look that much better. Japanese lip sync, which is huge because the game had Japanese and English voiceover and subtitles. Legends co-op multiplayer. Video Game News with PGN was one of the first to announce that multiplayer. Icky Island expansion, brand new DLC, whole new island to explore, brand new story elements, bad guys. That was also something that we were talking about on Video Game Movies BGN not too long ago about new expansion, new island, new sub-game, you know? Here's the director's cut, it's official. Coming out soon. Let me get that date there and then talk a little bit more about it. So what I was saying was, you know, you had the option of switching between English and Japanese voiceover work before, but even if you picked Japanese as the voiceover work, you had English lips moving around speaking the English words. So you could get a little bit thrown off, you know, kind of like watching a movie that was not dubbed and subbed properly to match up. And you know, it doesn't really take too much away from the experience or anything like that. But now, on the PS5 version, you're going to get full-on lip syncing with the Japanese audio, if that's the way you wish to watch/play the game. So pretty cool option. Now, PS4 owners aren't like losing out on anything. They're just not getting as much as if you're a PS5 owner potentially. On PS4, if you already have Ghost of Tsushima, physical or digital, you could upgrade and get the director's cut for $20. This will give you the brand new Iki Island expansion, and that's kind of like the meat and potatoes of it, you know? And that's fair. You already got a very complete game. You got free DLC, which was the multiplayer, and now you're just getting a brand new island and new enemies to kill and a new story along with it. $20, not bad. Of course, you could just buy the whole director's cut on PS4 for the first time if that's your console and you wish to play it now for the first time. On the PS5 side of things, if you buy it, you're going to get the full game, all of the upgrades, the 4K resolution, and of course the DLC pack add-on. If you just want to upgrade the PS4 version to the PS5 version and take advantage of the extra visuals, that's actually going to be $30. It's $10 extra for the PS5 specific functionality, which is the haptic feedback, the extra DualSense trigger work, the lip syncing exclusive to the PS5 version, of course the 4K visuals, and so forth. So for $20 you could get the DLC. For $30, that's what's going to get the bumped up PS5 exclusive content and visual features. So there are a couple of different tiers in here. Sony could have made it free, like, okay, if you want the DLC, it's $20, but if you get the DLC, you just get the upgrade for free in terms of the visual bump and stuff like that, you know? If you don't get the DLC, fine, it's $10 for the upgrade on its own. But to separate them as 20 and 10, it's rubbing people off the wrong way. It would have been more consumer friendly if they said, okay, 20 or 10, or together for 20. But I guess, you know, from a business perspective, they want to make as much money as they can. However, in a time where it's so competitive, to make all of the best strategic moves, you gotta look and say, well, what's Microsoft doing? What's Nintendo doing? What's Sony doing? What are, you know, my opponents in the video game landscape doing in these, you know, cross-gen, backwards compatible titles, upgrade titles, etc. And it's not the best. It's not the most consumer-friendly thing that they could have done. But it is what it is. Obviously, I guess you're in the best camp if you don't own the game in any capacity and you just find a Ghost of Tsushima disc on PS4 for super cheap and then spend $30 to upgrade to the PS5 enhanced version where you're getting, you know, the PS5 upgrade and the new DLC all in one, and there you go, right? But for a lot of people that want more and then now want to play it on the PS5, they're okay with the 20 for the DLC, but like, why do I have to pay another 10 just to upgrade it on my PS5 that I already spent a lot on? Yeah, I could see why people are iffy on that. It's not the end of the world, but the principle of the matter is what matters most here. And I guess companies are still seeing just how much can they, not to say in a bad way, take advantage of their audience, but how much can they milk a game, milk an IP, milk their audience, you know? If it flops, which I don't think it will, Sony probably will say, we're not going to do that again because it really messed up with the brand and it really didn't do any favors for us because it didn't sell well, etc. Well, won't do that again. We'll just make slightly less money. That's the thing. These companies aren't going to make nothing if they don't charge an extra 10. They're just going to make slightly less. Still going to make a lot of profit. Obviously, the more profit, the better for them. But like I said, this isn't going to fail. This is going to do well, and people will probably support it overall, even though a smaller portion of the overall audience is going to complain about it and be vocal. Most will just go ahead and buy it. And then that shows the developers, the publishers, people are okay with it, so let's continue doing it. Few companies do go back and on Twitter later on say, hey, sorry about that. We read your comments and concerns, improvements suggested, and we're doing the following for you. Boom. That's really cool when somebody does that. But anyways, that's Ghost of Tsushima, Director's Cut. Let me know what you think. Next up, a rumor, but it looks to be all but true at this point. Dead Space, the 2008 IP from EA that has been dead for quite a while, seems to be coming back by developer Motive, and that's looking very promising. In the near future, we should see something on it, fingers crossed. And that is a full-on remake of the first Dead Space, done Capcom Resident Evil 2 style. This would be huge because Dead Space is a cool franchise. We got entries on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 back in the day. We got a cool light gun Dead Space Extraction title for Wii in the 2009-10 era. Time span. And, you know, it's just fun. Dead Space is overall cool. Its sequels were good as well. And it's been a while. So to get a full-on remake, a visual, beautiful upgrade, not just, not to kind of rain on Skyward Sword's parade, but not just a HD'd up version, but like Resident Evil 2 style, full-on remake. Make it look beautiful. Take advantage of modern visuals. Probably a PS4, Xbox One, PS5, Xbox Series game, maybe Nintendo Switch. Then again, EA is kind of weird with Nintendo Switch, so I wouldn't expect it to come on that platform necessarily, but when Video Game News with Polygon Network gets 100% confirmation on this rumored remake, I'll let you know, but for now, probably count on it coming out. Okay, finally, it is Thursday. It's exciting time for me because it's Video Game News with Polygon Network talking Famitsu sales, one of my favorites. Thank you to Chris1964, as always, from the ResetEra.com forums for supplying this list. You know, Famitsu puts out these charts, this data every week. You could find it anywhere on the internet, but I really like ResetEra.com. I like going into the forums, talking with others, a lot of passionate people just like me into sales charts. So thanks, Chris, for putting it up. Okay, let's get to software first. This is for week 26 of 2021, occupying that June 21st to June 27th time frame. At number 1, Mario Golf Super Rush for Nintendo Switch at 80,430 copies sold. At number 2, Samurai Warriors 5 on PS4 with 55,000 units. And number 3 is the Nintendo Switch version of Samurai Warriors 5 with 38,000. So there's a good 17,000 difference there between the PS4 and Nintendo Switch, I should say, versions of the game. We'll see how each one drops and if there will be a similar drop each week, or will there be a smaller percentage, greater percentage on one or the other? Will one overtake the other? Right now, the PS4 version is in the lead by a fair margin. At number 4, Game Builder Garage with 23,000 copies. I talked about this before. Not a giant debut for the game, but after the first week that it was out, it had a small drop. And look, right now, yet again, another small drop, only 26%. So I'm starting to think more and more that this game might actually have legs, and long run could end up doing well, especially as more weeks come up where there's a bigger amount of Nintendo Switch owners that are first-time owners for the week. You'll see this game probably go up in percentage. We'll see, though. At number 5, unfortunate to see, but the recently released Scarlet Nexus, despite coming in at number 5, just didn't have that great of a debut, with 20,160 copies sold. Ring Fit Adventure, here's a game that just never ceases to amaze me, up 6% this week with 13,756 copies sold. At number 7, the Nintendo Switch version of Minecraft with 11,000. At number 8, on PlayStation 4, The Legend of Nayuta Boundless Trails with 11,230 copies sold. Number 9, Scarlet Nexus on PlayStation 5 with 11,008. And at number 10, The Caligula Effect on Nintendo Switch with 10,000 copies. So Scarlet Nexus debuted on PS4 and PS5. The PS4 version almost doubled the PS5 version, but hey, that's another game for PlayStation 5 getting into the top 10, which doesn't happen too often. So the fact that it happened here, you look at the week and say, okay, there's a decent mixture of PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch in there. It's still predominantly a Nintendo chart, but hey, a little bit of representation from everyone, at least in terms of, well, Nintendo and Sony. Not quite everyone, because there isn't an Xbox game in here, but 3 systems. That's what I was getting at. On the hardware side of things, though, which we're going to look at now, Xbox is actually doing really well in Japan for a few weeks in a row now. It's just kind of going up, 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 up. I said last week, can it go up to 4,000 next week? I think it will, and it did, which is awesome. But let's start at the top. Excuse me. At number 1, 72,951 units sold of Nintendo Switch. PlayStation 5 at number 2 with 23,438. Xbox Series with that 4,113. PlayStation 4 in 4th place with 2,548. And the Nintendo 3DS at 5th place with 519. Looking at Nintendo Switch, one milestone it hit was 3 million. It hit the 3 million mark before the official halfway mark of 2021 hit. So, usually, thanks to the holiday season occurring in the last 6 weeks of a year, the bulk of most video game company sales come in the last 3 months, okay? Particularly with Nintendo, an even greater percentage of their sales in the year come up in this last 3-month section, with really the last 6 weeks just being all out fire. Now, can that July 1st through October 31st, or July 1st, I should say, through September 30th, really, should that 3-month section of time for them be big enough that in addition to that last 3-month section be bigger than 3 million overall? Could it? I think it could. If it is, then you're looking at an over 6 million unit selling year for Nintendo Switch, which puts it in record-breaking territory. It would be phenomenal. Now, the next 3 months have to be strong. but the software lineup is pretty good. And, whether you're looking at Shin Megami Tensei 5, the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes, No More Heroes 3, Skyward Sword HD, the continuous effects rolling out of Game Builder Garage and Mario Golf. A couple of those titles already came out, but as those are out and Ring Fit Adventure gets restocks and these other 5 games come out, you really start to say, hey, I think Nintendo might be able to bust out $6 million for the year. We'll see, though. Right now, looking really good. PlayStation 5 went up over last week. Promising. Xbox Series, it has now passed Xbox One launch aligned, so that's good. Some people are wondering, like, well, why? I mean, it's not just Game Pass, is it? Well, I think Game Pass has a lot to do with it, but so here's the thing with Game Pass. Game Pass has only been out in Japan since last year. So with Game Pass coming out last year, it's not like the Japanese audience had a ton of time to fall in love with the service. Whereas now they've already been, exposed to it for the first 6 months of this year. So you compare this chunk of time with an Xbox Series X and S existing for this whole amount of time compared to just being introduced in 2020 on an Xbox One, which, wasn't the best selling system by any means and, kind of a failure by most people's metrics in Japan. Now it's starting to catch on. People are liking it. And another big factor is just stock. PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, I have no doubt, would be selling a lot better if Sony and Microsoft would be releasing more in Japan. Microsoft looks like they're getting more and more. Like, could they bust out 4,800 next week, 5,000 next week? I think if they would release 10,000 next week in Japan, you would see 5,000, 9,000 easily get sold. I don't want to start getting too crazy and say, oh, if they released 50, they would sell 40. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think the demand is starting to get higher and higher for Xbox in Japan, enough that the system might slowly become Microsoft's best-selling Xbox console in Japan to date, which, like I said, isn't saying a ton, but if they could get some brand recognition and start to do well in the country, at least better than they've ever done before, that would be great, and that would really bode well potentially for Microsoft and their future in the market. So we'll see. PlayStation 5, like I said, similar thing. Although on that side, I would say if Sony did release 50,000 in a given week, probably all or very close to the 50,000 would sell. It's not like nobody wants to buy games on it. It's just that there's not a whole lot of systems out there for people to then buy games for. But still, it's not like the games are absolute bangers yet either, because with 600,000 people owning the console, you would expect to see more PlayStation 5 games top the top 10 more often, right? But overall, video game industry has its ups and downs. Different factors come into play for all sorts of sales. If there's one thing that's constant right now that you could bet on, is Nintendo Switch is going to continue doing well and probably continue being the best-selling platform throughout this next generation. But never say anything with 100% certainty, because things could change and someone else could flip the script. You never know. All right. It's been fun talking today. Let me know what you thought about Skyward Sword HD, Ghost of Tsushima, Dead Space, the Famitsu sales, hardware, software. All right. Thanks for joining me. This is Paul Gale from PaulGaleNetwork.com signing out. I'll talk to you all soon. Have a good one. Take it easy.